welcome. Today is Saturday, so many people are gonna be out, are gonna be enjoying the weekend. They're not really gonna be watching this video. So instead, what I'm gonna do is some off the record talk, some random discussion and chatting about events within the WoW community that have happened recently. So what I have been shown in the last few days is a bunch of people. I looked at, sure, you could say it's the lowest hanging fruits, because you look at Reddit comments or perhaps Twitter comments, MMO champion comments, or why not the good old official forums comments. And apparently many people are not too happy with Preach getting an alpha invite for Dragonflight. Why? Well, if you haven't kept track, like me, if you haven't really followed this like me, apparently Preach made a video, a farewell video, essentially pointing out how he was leaving the WoW community and stopping essentially following and covering WoW as a game to go and play and follow and make videos about and stream about Final Fantasy 14. Yeah, we should specify. And for a long time, it's been several months now, he has been following Final Fantasy. So obviously, when people see that he gets the alpha invite to go back to play World of Warcraft, they go back to what he said, to their ideas of how he treated, so to speak, WoW as a game in all of these months, and are unhappy about this. Many people have also, I still remember this, many people have also not really enjoyed Preach, because apparently they accused him of being an elitist, they accused him of being a so-called 1%er, i.e. the idea that he wanted to essentially create an entire game around mythic raiders only and not care whatsoever about casuals of any kind, of any sort, and that apparently many of the faults of the Blizzard developers for the choices of Shadowlands actually fell onto Preach himself, because apparently the devs listened to him on almost everything, and that is the reason why Shadowlands turned out like this, because they catered apparently to this type of player, which made the majority of the player base unhappy. That's apparently also one of his faults, and why apparently a very vocal minority seems to dislike the fact that now he's going to be into the Dragonflight Alpha. Now, if there was someone who should have been angry about this, it should have been me, because of course I don't have the alpha. I don't have alpha access right now. I have been covering the game, all the expansion. Essentially, I have not ditched the game to go play Final Fantasy. I have not had this entire charade where I start playing Final Fantasy and act as if it's the best game ever, and I can't go 5 minutes without mentioning something about WoW bad. But at the end of the day, I don't care too much. I don't care too much because I know that this entire segment is marketing. The vast majority, the biggest brunt of the testing is going to be done in the beta, when they will start to dish out invites in the thousands. This one is pretty much just a PR thing. Give the alphas to a bunch of influencers, give the alpha to a bunch of content creators, make streams, videos and tweets about it, and just bring up the engagement levels of the game. That's it. So you have to understand why one of the old, at this point, one of the larger content creators for the game, Preach, it's obvious that Blizzard would want him to go and cover the game. Even more so if it means taking him away from a direct competitor, in this case Final Fantasy. So obviously Blizzard doesn't give a shit about loyalty, about, oh well, he betrayed us, he went away to play a different game and spent week in, week out shitting on us while he was playing a different MMO. It doesn't matter if you can still get him back and bring back his viewers and the influence of his channel or his stream, etc., etc. They have done this to plenty other content creators who did leave for Final Fantasy, and they have invited them for the alpha for this very purpose, for the purpose of getting them back in the game, in WoW, rather than a competitor. So if you think about it, it might be cynical, it might be asshole-ish, but why would you give an invite to someone who is already playing the game and will continue to play the game, has even pre-ordered Dragonflight and will continue to play Dragonflight, over giving the invite to someone who isn't currently playing and isn't currently bringing you more players, more views, more influence, more engagement levels in social medias or online communities, etc., etc. So I find it quite understandable and quite logical why this happened. You can, of course, obviously, this is going to be completely up to you, it's going to be completely subjective. You can go and discuss the morality of the choice. It's gonna be up to you if you think it was a good choice or a bad choice, or rather an hypocritical thing to do, right? Because this is one of the things that I found most jarring when I saw all of these WoW players, these temporarily on vacation WoW players playing Final Fantasy, this unconditional love for the game they were giving to Final Fantasy. Apparently everything was perfect, everything was pristine, every single thing they saw or did was the best thing ever they have done in an MMO. There was nothing negative to ever be said. Perhaps this also had to do with the rumors of the extreme toxicity of the Final Fantasy community towards players who dare say something negative about their loved game. You know, one of the things I always thought about when looking at a game, one of the things that you often see as a defense from players accused of hating WoW, of constantly joining discussions and constantly joining communities only to shit talk WoW, and people just go at them and say, dude, you just said you stopped playing in Legion because the game is shit. Why are you here in a thread, in a topic about Shadowlands and still bad-mouthing the game? The answer that often gets shared by these players with the same mentality is because I still love the game, because I'm being rough on it, because I love the game and I want to see it do well. Therefore, I am like the stern parent. I'm like the disappointed parent who just wants to see his little kid do well. And this sort of reflected on when I saw all of these content creators, so to speak, playing Final Fantasy. If all of these players are raving on the game and claiming the game to be so amazing, the first thing I thought would be logical is also having plenty of complaints about the game itself, right? I could be here raving about several of the pros of WoW, of the great things that WoW does, but at the same time, I would also be able to give you, off the top of my head, 5 things that infuriate me about WoW. I will be able to make entire videos complaining about these things and asking Blizzard to fix these things because they are terrible. So I always found it quite strange how all of these WoW players suddenly moved to Final Fantasy, had only extreme positive things to say, not a single negative throughout the entirety of the game, and yet, for all of this positive, for all of these great things that Final Fantasy does and WoW does not, they immediately ran back as soon as they got their alpha invite and as soon as they got content to actually milk in WoW, as if they never even went to play Final Fantasy in the first place. I don't know about you, but if I were as smitten and as amazed by a game as if I saw all of these players do, I wouldn't just have dropped it in about 5 minutes, you know? So when it comes to the morality of the choice, when it comes to why would someone do this, I'm gonna leave it up to your subjective opinion. I am not really gonna go into it because people are gonna have different opinions on it. I've just been surprised by the overall reaction, the overall negative reaction that I've seen being commented by players. Apparently even offended, even personally offended that someone like Preach got into the alpha of Dragonflight, or was given by Blizzard the alpha invite for Dragonflight. You know, first thing to notice to all of you Zoomers that Preach has followed this game and has been a content creator for this game for over a decade and has been one of the more loyal supporters of the game for several years and several expansions. So I wouldn't really mind or throw a fit in any community corner I can find if someone like him left the game for something like a year. You know, I wouldn't hold it upon him like he just committed a crime, like I have been seeing a bit too much, honestly. You know, I can understand some of these people complaining about other content creators, but at this point it's like a drop in the bucket, like the usual complaint about Asmongold. You can pretty much go anywhere in any game, in any community corner, and find someone complaining about something that he could perhaps have done or said. Whatever. I'm not even gonna go into that. But we know already, as a community, that there are people for or against this guy. But when it came to Preach, I was more surprised by the, I guess, annoyance, anger, frustration or irritation that so many players seems to have had for him coming back to play Dragonflight in the alpha. Especially because in the end, as I said, there must have been no, I haven't counted, but there must have been some 30 35, 40, maybe someone who actually counted them all might come up with a number in the comments, content creators for WoW that went to play Final Fantasy for a bit. So I just don't see all of this harping on a particular content creator. However big he might be, however much of a difference there might be between him and other smaller content creators that went to play Final Fantasy, I don't. In the closing of the video, I don't consider playing Final Fantasy a crime, even though, as I point out, some of them might have done for more cynical reasons, viewership reasons, rather than actually enjoying the game. In the end, I don't care. I just wanted to point this out today because I didn't really have too much else to talk about, but this thing sort of stuck with me because I've seen this a few times already whenever I went to check Twitter, or for fun when I went to check the forums. I've seen this mentioned a few times, so I wanted to point out my own opinion about it for however it's worth, which apparently it's worth 12 minutes of your life in a video. Good to know. With this being said, I can leave you now to the rest of your Saturday. Now, there might be a debate whether or not Friday is part of the weekend already. Certainly, Saturday is part of the weekend, so I am going to leave you to whatever you were doing in this weekend. Thank you, of course, to all of my patrons who are supporting me. As usual, you make things possible, like making videos. That's the thing that's happening, apparently. That's the thing that's happening. There isn't much else going on right now. And it is definitely a good help as we get closer to Dragonflight and we get more and more content to talk about. It's going to be quite nice. It's quite relaxing to know that I have your support when I produce my content. Also, for further support, you can like and comment on this video, as well as subscribe to the channel itself. That is kind of the end goal of the channel, I guess. You can also follow me on Twitter, and you can subscribe to my Patreon down at these links right here. Getting to be part of my Patreons will also give you access to my Discord server, where you can come in, ask questions about whatever you might be interested in, the previous contents, feedback, the future content, questions or tips, or maybe just random off-topic questions. I am usually always there to answer. With this being said, thank you guys again. See you guys soon, and in the meantime, yeah, I know. Why would I even want to go and read WoW forums in the first place? Why would I want to go and read WoW comments in the first place? Because I am bored and I find it a good way to spend my time to laugh at other people. I am sorry.